What is the worst TikTok medical hack you've ever seen?
There are so many medical hacks on Instagram and TikTok. Your health is not a trend. Just because something goes viral doesn't mean it's valid. I've been seeing a lot of cancer hacks on social media. Cancer is not something that you want to treat based off of information that you find on social media.
Who in their right mind is actually taking medical advice off TikTok?
So there's natural aging that occurs because we're getting older, but the vast majority of skin changes that we see as we age are not a result of just aging naturally. A lot of it is photo aging, damage caused by exposure to sun. UV is so damaging, it breaks down your collagen, it also causes DNA mutations, which increases your risk of cancer. And if this picture does not encourage you guys to use sunscreen, I don't know what will.
Let's move on to some of the videos that we were sent.
So this video is crazy to me because...
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Scrubs to Stilettos with me, Dr. Tiffany Moon.
And with myself, Dr. Nicole Martin.
This week, we are doing something a little bit different. You guys are always tagging us in TikToks and Instagram Reels about medical things. You send it to us and you're like, is this legit? Should I be doing it? Is this scientifically backed? And this episode, we are going to review some of the videos that you've sent us and give you our hot take.
It can be, some of these are going to be medical, some of them are going to be beauty hacks, and we're going to give you our unfiltered thoughts. Some of these videos are pretty shocking, some of them are kind of funny, and so I'm excited to share what we think about them with you guys.
Before we do that, let's do this week's weekly obsession. You want to go first?
My weekly obsession, as you know, I just got back from traveling, and whenever I'm going on a trip, I always try to get a new book so that I have entertainment on the flight or, while the kids are sleeping in the morning. And this book is actually an old book. It's been on my reading list for a while. Have you read this, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo?
No, because it looks like it's fiction.
It is fiction because, I like to escape when I'm reading a book. So I like fiction. Tiffany's too smart and likes to learn things. But if you like fiction, I thought this was really cute and entertaining. So The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and it is by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Amazing. Funny enough, my weekly obsession is also a book. I guess we're so cerebral on this podcast. Mine is Sweet Success by Candace Nelson. And the reason it's my weekly obsession is because I was recently introduced to Candace by a mutual friend of ours, and she has agreed to come speak at Lead Her Summit.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, for those of you who don't, the name might not ring a bell. Candace Nelson is the founder of Sprinkles Cupcakes. Surely that rings a bell. She basically revolutionized the baking world by reinventing the cupcake and making this sexy sought after thing. Because before she did that, cupcakes were this kind of, those grocery store ones in that plastic.
Yeah, it was something you buy for a kid's birthday.
Yes, and not sexy, no adult, whatever, go get a cupcake as a treat or anything like that. And so the book is just basically how she got laid off her job in finance and went to pastry school and then revolutionized the cupcake and then sold Sprinkles for some, bajillion dollars. And so she's coming to lead her summit because our theme this year is the business of branding. And I was like, I think she knows a thing or two about branding and marketing and, putting yourself out there. So I'm really excited. So I read her book.
Oh, that's amazing. That's one of the things I really loved about Lead Her Summit is the exposure to successful women that have built a brand, built a business, gone through the struggles, because they have firsthand experience of, all the ups and downs through the process, and they're so willing to share all that information. So if you've got questions about how do I build a website or how do I market myself or all these things, there's women that have done it from the ground up at Lead Her Summit. And it really is just such an amazing place to make contacts and to learn. So I'm excited. I get to meet her in a couple months.
Yay. Okay. So we will head into some rapid fire warm-up questions before we start reviewing the TikTok videos. The first one, what is the worst TikTok medical hack you've ever seen?
I mean, guys, there are so many medical hacks on Instagram and TikTok, I want to start off by saying that your health is not a trend, right? Just because something goes viral doesn't mean it's valid. And like, sure, you want to like do like some like little like hocus pocus thing for like a blemish on your skin, fine. But I've been seeing a lot of like cancer hacks on social media, like, oh, if you eat this particular type of diet, it helps treat your cancer. And I even saw something about someone was taking a pet medication, like an animal deworming medication, because they saw that that was like what was going to cure their cancer. Guys, cancer is not something that you want to treat based off of information that you find on social media. You know, you really want to do science-based medicine when you're tackling something like cancer. Like, it's not a good idea to take some animal deworming medication instead of the standard of care.
I feel like we shouldn't even have to say this. Like, who in their right mind is actually taking medical advice off TikTok besides like a do-it-yourself avocado mask or something like that?
I mean, exactly, like a little skin thing, fine. You know, you want to try putting egg in your hair because it's like a good hydrating treatment. Whatever, it's very low risk, not a big deal. But I've seen some crazy things. Like, I've seen someone using the blades that you use to do the what's it called? The dermaplaning?
Yes, yeah.
So, you know, dermaplaning is when they use a blade to kind of shave off those fine peach fuzz hairs so that your skin looks smoother and your makeup looks a lot nicer. They've used a blade like that to shave off moles. Like, guys, you should not be shaving off your moles at home. First of all, if you have a mole and it's bothering you, you need to get it checked by a dermatologist because it could be precancerous, it could be cancerous. You just don't want to shave it off nilly-willy. Not to mention you can get infected, you can get scarring. Like, there are wild things on social media, and you'd be shocked, Tiff, at how many people.
Nothing will shock me anymore. I saw someone who was buying hyaluronic acid off of Amazon and then injecting it into their lips as like a temporary way to fill the lips. And it wasn't filler. Like, it's not Restylane or Voluderm or whatever those brand names are. But they were like saying, well, it's the same stuff that those are made of. And so this is okay. And they were self-injecting filler into their lips. I was like, oh my God, absolutely
there's
not.
So many things that are wrong with that. Because, for example, if you were to buy hyaluronic acid from Amazon, which is where this person bought it from, it's not necessarily a medical grade product, meaning when you're buying, you know, a pharmaceutical grade injectable from a physician's office, those are sterile products. This hyaluronic acid may not be sterile. It may have bacteria. You may be like putting yourself at risk for infections and who knows what other allergic reactions, because are there preservatives in it? You just don't know. And I just think when it comes to health stuff, like, it's so important to be cautious about where you're getting your information from, and always just double fact check it with a physician or someone who has the credentials to actually speak on the subject.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Nicole, you're not on TikTok, right? Like, you don't post on TikTok.
I have a TikTok account for the sole purposes of if you send me or one of our listeners sends me a video and wants my opinion, I can go on and look on it, but I don't think I've ever posted anything on TikTok. It's just, honestly, it's too much for me. Like, Instagram is more than enough of a full-time job. So I don't use it or particularly, you know, browse it often.
Okay, but if you had TikTok when you were 16 years old, what kind of videos do you think you would have been making?
So when I was 16, from when I was little, actually, all the way through college, I was a cheerleader. I don't know if you know that. But I was super into dance and cheerleading. So I'm pretty sure I would be like one of those, like, doing those like dance videos with, like, you know, my friends, or I definitely would be dancing. That would be my vibe.
That's why you're such a good dancer and you can like hit a beat, and I'm just over here like wildly gyrating. I look like one of those air things outside the car dealership that's like, come, cars are on sale. I'm like, and then, you know, I'm like 2 margaritas in, so I think I look great. I feel sexy. I'm feeling myself. And then like somebody will have done a video of it, and I'll catch the video and I'll be like, oh my God, delete that immediately. Never post that.
Yeah, no, I got moves. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
What about you, Tiff? What would 16-year-old Tiff do?
I was in college, so I'd be like, come study with me. Come to lab with me. I was, working in a developmental physiology lab. I mean, I was the biggest dork when I was 16. Like, I don't even have anything to say. I didn't wear any makeup. Like, I didn't have any funny stories to tell. No, like, Alex Earl lifestyle things, sorority house, like, antics. I do not know what I would have posted. It would have been the most boring TikTok channel ever. It would have flopped.
I can't lie. I actually find Alex Earl to be very entertaining. Like the other day she was traveling somewhere and she bit something and broke off a piece of her veneer. And she was very transparent about the fact that she has veneers. And then she was very honest about how she's not necessarily happy with her veneers. And then she proceeded to file the chipped tooth on camera to like smooth it out so that she could continue her trip. I was like, okay, like she's honest, and I think she's oddly like refreshing.
Yes, I think it's her authenticity and her commitment to not like being perfect. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and the woman said, if you want to make the audience hate a character, make her perfect. But if you make her, messy, unsure of herself, she spills coffee, she's running late, the audience will then fall in love and root for her because
it's
they see
relatable.
themselves. Correct. And no one wants to see this picture perfect, whatever, living their picture perfect life. They want to see like the real stuff. So I think I applaud Alex for that.
I do too. She's very honest about like her skincare battles. She posts close up and she's like, guys, this is what you see on social media, but this is like what's really happening. She struggled with acne, like pretty significant acne. And she's really open about it, which is nice because so many people are like photoshopping, editing things and creating these unrealistic expectations, which I think make people feel bad when they're not looking that way. So I think it's nice to have influencers that are totally honest and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit.
Yes, cough, Kardashians, cough.
Okay, so you guys know that both Tiffany and I love to travel, and I am so excited that we have a new sponsor, which is a private travel club, and it's called Endless Luxury. And this private club unlocks unpublished members-only deals on different hotels, resorts, and vacation rentals. You can save up to 40% on over 1 million different stays. And this is backed by 110% best price guarantee. Now, membership is normally $999, but we've gotten them to discount the membership rate by 50% just for our listeners. So if you use the code SCRUBS, you'll get access to this private travel club for just $450. That's over 50% off. Plus, our Scrubs fans can save now and you get a free 7-day trial. So you can join, check out the site, look at the different travel options. And if you're not totally satisfied, you can cancel within 7 days. So you get to try it risk-free. Go to endlesslluxury.com/premium and enter the word Scrubs in all caps to start traveling like a VIP without the VIP price tag. Don't miss it. It's a great opportunity. And again, you can save up to 50% off with our discount code, and you can try it for free for 7 days.
Let's move on to some of the videos that we were sent and comment on them.
Quick story time on 2nd and 3rd degree burns from making s'mores. What happened is called fire jetting, and that's when the fire pit we were using, which was fueled by rubbing alcohol, essentially explodes when more fuel is added to the fire. So the bonfire pit we were using, I was sitting down at a table. It's a tabletop fire pit. And more rubbing alcohol was added to the fire because we couldn't see that the fire was low. The person adding the rubbing alcohol was standing and I was sitting. And I saw liquid flying at my face. I quickly covered my face with my hands and I thankfully closed my eyes. I felt immediate pain, and because I knew I was burned, I kept my eyes closed. Thankfully, there was a swimming pool in the backyard that we were in, but at this point, because my eyes are closed, I had thought I'd just been burned by the liquid. I was unaware that I was still on fire. So what I've been told, my head was on fire, and my arms. which is why my hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, and nose is burned so badly. So on my face, I received 2nd-degree burns, and on my wrists and my hands and my upper arms, I received 3rd-degree burns. When I stood up, I tripped, and I was thankfully dragged into the swimming pool. After being dragged to the shallow end, at this point, someone was already on the phone with paramedics, and they told me to get out of the pool as quickly as possible so I didn't also get chemical burns because my skin was open. When I got out of the pool, the pain was so bad, I actually still thought I was on fire. Once paramedics arrived, they took me to the nearest burn unit, about 30 minutes away from where I was. At this point, my face was swollen and red and looked like a really bad sunburn, but you could see visible tearing on my arms. When I got to the ER, they immediately started taking off all jewelry and metal I had on because I started to swell so quickly. At this point, they tried to place a IV in my arm to administer pain medication, but had a hard time finding a vein, and I think they missed my vein 9 times. They finally got one in my hand, and I was given morphine. And at this point, I am taken upstairs to the burn ICU. So because my hands and my arms and my wrists got the most burns, they expected me to be in the ICU for about a month. During this time, I received 3 surgeries. The first 2 were both debridement and placement of cadaver skin. And the third was a placement of grafts. Thankfully, they found out that the burns on my face weren't as deep as they were expecting it, so they didn't need to take grafts from my leg, and they ended up using synthetic grafts, which is why I got out of the hospital earlier than expected. So at this point, I'm very wrapped up, and those are the videos you guys were seeing originally. I'm also going to add photos of my face when I got burned, and parts of my healing process. I had so much love and so much support from family and friends, and I was healing much quicker than they thought I was going to, so they allowed me to go home. I actually just got the grafts off my face about 2 days ago, and I feel much more comfortable talking now. Clearly, my lips are burned the worst, and my eyelids and my nose were very bad. Kind of censoring my lips because they look so bad, but this is kind of like when I first kind of got out, and then this is like when I first got burned. You can see how swollen I was. And then this is just 3 days ago when I first got the grafts taken off. So obviously you can see my hand here, but this is my wrist and my left arm. The rest of the burns extend to both of my upper arms. So thankfully they allowed me to come heal at home, and the rest of my treatment includes no sunlight, specific skincare to take away any discoloration. They expect that my arms will scar, but we're very hopeful that my face will not scar as badly. They are confident I'm not going to need any more surgeries or any more graft placements, but we're unsure of if I'll need any surgeries for discoloration in the future. Anyways, moral of the story, be very careful when around fire. Obviously, I recommend never using an alcohol-fueled pit because fire jetting is very common and we were unaware. And honestly, it's just excruciating pain.
So this video is crazy to me because I don't know about you, but I have made s'mores countless number of times outside on our barbecue pit in Colorado. I mean, we probably do it every other night while we're in Colorado in the winter, in the summer. My son loves s'mores. So for those of you who haven't been able to watch the video, this is a video that went viral. It's called Fire Jetting, and it's about a girl who was out with her family at an outdoor barbecue pit, and they were making s'mores, and the fire started to die. And so one of her family members added some more rubbing alcohol to get the fire going again, and the mixture of the alcohol with the heat from the fire basically created this huge fireball explosion, and the fireball came towards this girl and caused severe second-degree burns on her face. She had third-degree burns on her arms, on her hands. She had to have several surgeries to treat these burns. And after we saw this, I did some research, and there's a ton of these fire jetting videos on social media of people that have been basically attacked by these fireballs when they're using these outdoor fire pits that need rubbing alcohol. Have you seen any of these, Tiff?
Yeah, this is crazy. It's so sad. Working at a very high acuity burn center, I see burns all the time. In fact, out of the 24 operating rooms that we have at my hospital, one is specifically reserved for burn patients. So I see these people all the time. We always get like campfire, someone putting lighter fluid in a campfire and then it kind of explodes. But lately there's been more of these fire pit things because people don't know. Oftentimes there's some alcohol involved. And what's really sad is usually the person that's burned was not the person doing the thing, right? Because it goes out away from the person. So they squeeze the alcohol, rubbing alcohol onto the fire, and that basically like shoots a fireball at whoever's directly across from them. And it causes very severe injuries. This girl was explaining that she had like 9 or 10 surgeries. She was in the burn ICU for almost a month. She had to have cadaver skin grafts, which is when they basically, this sounds weird, but they use a very specific machine to shave off skin from a cadaver, usually the thigh or leg, where you can get a good continuous piece. And they graft that onto the person who's been burned because essentially they have no skin. It's been burned off. And it causes scarring. It's like hard and shiny for the rest of their lives. Sometimes they can have contractures that they have to return to the OR for. So like a burn is one of the worst injuries that you could have. Like if I had to choose between being burned and like breaking a bone, I would choose breaking a bone because usually you can fix it. Whereas a burn, there's always long-term sequela from it.
And you know what, Tiff? I feel like a lot of people don't realize, like they think like, oh, if I get a bad burn, it's limited to like the skin. But burns can turn into very complicated hospital courses. When your skin, remember your skin is the largest organ in your body. It covers and maintains like your internal homeostasis. So a lot of times these burn victims lose a significant amount of fluid. They have a lot of hemodynamic changes. They're in the ICU often for days when they're initially being treated for the burns. So it can get really complicated. It's not just like something that's superficial. And it was really sad what happened to this girl. And I actually saw that there's a bunch of lawsuits happening now against the companies that created these fire pits that use rubbing alcohol, because apparently the instructions are not very clear. You know, you add rubbing alcohol, you turn it on, it works fine, and then all of a sudden the fire starts to die. And so people automatically think, well, you need to add more rubbing alcohol. What the instructions don't always explain clearly is that you can't add alcohol while the fire is still hot. You have to let it cool completely. Otherwise, the combination of the heat and the alcohol creates pressure and you get this fireball explosion. So a lot of people don't know how to use it appropriately, either because the instructions aren't clear or they didn't read them carefully. So you really have to be cautious with these fire pits. And obviously, if you've got kids around, like super, super careful with them.
Yeah, they look cool. I see them at hotels and stuff sometimes, but I don't know. I'm always like a little cautious of real fire, you know, like I'm always, I don't want my kids around it. I don't want to be sitting around it too close. You know, I got this synthetic hair. It might catch on fire. I don't know what's going on.
Dude, burns hurt too. Like, have you ever been curling your hair and gotten like
Girl, I ordered
Yes,
I was in Las Vegas and I ordered one of those Glam Squad to come to my hotel room to do my hair because, you know, I have these extensions and they're like kind of hard and long and I just don't like curling or blowing out my own hair. So I ordered this Glam Squad girl and she burned the shit out of my neck, girl. I was so pissed. I like emailed customer service and they were like, here's a $20 voucher towards your next service. I was like, I'm like, I can send you a picture. I have a mark on the back of my neck from her curling iron. And you want to send me $20? Like, I can't. So yeah. Maybe for our listeners, let's like do a little burn review. We'll go through like, okay, so you guys, there's 3 degrees of burns. One is like a sunburn, or if you touch a hot stove or your curling iron, it usually can be treated at home, like a little bacitracin to make sure it doesn't get infected, cover it. Oh, this is a tip. People think that if you have a burn, you should counteract it with ice, right? Because that's like the opposite of a burn. But that's actually not a smart idea because ice can vasoconstrict the blood vessels. So now you have an area of injury and you're decreasing the amount of blood that's going there. So if you have a burn on your finger or something, you can rinse it with cold water, but don't apply ice to your burn. And then there's second degree burns, which is painful, versus third degree burns, which is painless. So if you ever have a burn and it don't hurt, that means it's burned all the way through, including the receptors that cause pain. So third degree is very bad. You're going to need a graft. It's going to need and it's going to scar. Second degree, you just cover it. Do not pop your blisters. If you have like a
blisters,
if you have a bubble blister.
Yeah.
Leave it. People pop them and it's like that's your body's inflammatory reaction to the burn and it's healing in there. If you pop it, now it's open and gonna get infected and all that other stuff.
Yes. Have you ever heard of, if you get like a burn from a curling iron or something relatively superficial, to put toothpaste on it? Is that
Girl, did you see that on TikTok?
Listen, I didn't see it on TikTok. I want to say that this is like a Hispanic thing. That like, because I remember like, if you're cooking and you get like a little burn, my mom would be like, put toothpaste on it. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, I swear by it.
That is so funny. I have heard toothpaste on a zit, and I think I didn't look this up, but I think there's some like thing where it dries your zit out and maybe it can be helpful. But toothpaste on a burn is a different one.
Well, I think the idea is that the mint, like the cooling sensation, helps to counteract the like heat burning feeling. But it is not a good idea to rub toothpaste, which is full of chemicals, on a fresh burn. I don't care if your grandmother says it was a good idea. Don't do it.
Yeah, okay.
I also like Silvadene. Like I always have Silvadene in my house, like silver ointment, in case there's like a superficial burn, because I do use hot tools often and I have been known to burn my shoulder, burn my neck with them. So I always have a little like silver based cream to help with my burns at home.
Yeah, hopefully you guys found that helpful. I know that was a lot about burns. Okay, let's go to our next video, which is...
And just like that, Lola's gone.
Wrong. Lola's right here, you fucking Brussels sprout.
I actually loved this next video that they sent us. We have a lot of mom listeners, and one of our listeners sent this to us and was like, is this normal? And basically, it's a video that went pretty viral because a famous influencer, her name is Abby Herbert. She's got over like 15 million followers and over 2 billion likes on TikTok. She's a mom, and she posted a video of a massive engorgement of only one of her breasts while she was breastfeeding. I mean, she was like a double D on one side and like an A on one side, but only one boob was making all of her milk. And so it was very obvious, imbalance in the size of her breasts. And people were like, oh, you need to pump more. You need to do this more. Like you should be breastfeeding off of the other breast. Honestly, I thought it was a great post because there's so much like unknowns when you're a new mom and you're starting to breastfeed and you're just trying to figure it out. And not everybody is like perfect. Not everyone's breasts are going to make the same exact amount of milk. I had a heavy producer and a lazy boob. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't super visually obvious, but I would get 6 ounces from one and 3 ounces from the other. That's not uncommon.
Yeah, I remember pumping and like looking at the bottles and they were grossly uneven. Yeah.
And I think it happens for several reasons. Number one, it's nature. People are not symmetrical. You've got one breast that's larger than the other, one eye that's a little bit more open than the other. Like humans are naturally asymmetrical. You've got different amount of breast tissue in one breast compared to the other. And sometimes babies prefer one boob over the other, right? Like they're more comfortable on one side. Maybe the way you hold them, it feels better on one side. The positioning. There's so many reasons why one breast might make more milk than the other one. But in general, remember supply and demand. The more you use a boob, the more that boob is going to be making milk. So if you do have one breast that produces more milk and the other one that doesn't, try pumping the other one or prioritize feeding on the lazier breast so that that one can get stimulated a little bit more.
Yes, and make sure that it's not painful, you don't have any bumps, it's not like a mastitis situation. Definitely bring it up with your OB-GYN at your postpartum check, and if everything seems to be checking out and you just have, one overproducer, it might be fine, but we want to rule out that anything's wrong first.
But I like that video. I don't know why people were so upset by it. I think it's nice when people are like, hey, look how weird this is. This isn't perfect, because I'm sure you're not the only one. So when there's someone else that's going through something similar, I think it makes it relatable and it makes you feel less isolated that you're not the only one with this weird big boob.
Yes, I think that's the great thing about social media is that you can however weird your thing is, you can probably find someone else who has it too.
Yeah, it normalizes things so that you don't feel so alone. So this next video, I sent this to Tiff, I don't know, a few weeks ago because I saw it on social media and I was shocked, guys. This is a video, a woman named Farah Faisal, whose face drastically, when I say drastically, I mean she looked like another person. Her face changed in 9 months while she was pregnant. I mean, she went from a smooth-skinned, thin-looking face to having this red pustules, acne. I mean, her face looked swollen. Her nose was wider. It looked like a totally different human.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. I looked it up and I guess it is a condition called Rosacea fulminans. And I was like, what kind of rosacea is that? But I read that pregnancy and all the hormones associated with pregnancy can often be a trigger for that. But other triggers can include medications, steroids, who knows, But the good thing is that after pregnancy, after the baby is delivered, the face does return back to normal. And I think, did she post that she was normal again?
He did. So she has had her baby. And at about 2 months postpartum, her skin started to return to normal. I think sometimes people who are not in the medical field, they don't realize all the changes that happen with pregnancy, right? People are like, oh, you're pregnant, your belly gets big, and then that's it. No, so many things change. I mean, there are women whose feet change and they grow a size or two and their feet never go back to normal. Do you know how pissed off I would have been if my feet would have changed and I wasn't able to wear all my shoes?
Girl, I used to be a size 6 foot all my life. I have really nice Louboutins that are the crystal ones that I got married in. They are a size 36. My fat feet now cannot fit into those shoes. I am keeping them in my closet as a reminder. Maybe one of my daughters can wear them one day. But my feet grew about a full size during pregnancy, and then I feel like the puffiness went down, and now it's a half size. So I have shoes that I cannot fit in.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Your feet can change. Me, when I was pregnant, my lips looked like I had put 2 mLs of filler. I'm gonna find a picture and see if we can put it in here. And I was 6 months pregnant and people were like, stop with the fillers in your lips. I'm like, you guys, first of all, I'm pregnant. I'm not doing fillers. I'm not doing anything. But you also can't, do you not understand the changes that happen to women when they're pregnant? Their hands get swollen, their feet get swollen, their lips get swollen. Some women's noses get wider, they get larger. You have an increase in blood volume because you're not only taking care of your body, but you're creating a human. So you've got more blood distributed throughout your body. That creates inflammation. It creates swelling of things. There's hormonal changes. And most of those things revert back to normal after the delivery. But sometimes you have permanent changes, like your foot stayed half a size bigger.
Yes, and I also remember in my 3rd trimester, and I was also huge, right? Because I had twins. I had the worst gastric reflux. I had a sour taste in my mouth all the time. It was so bad because the reason for that is when you're pregnant, you have very high levels of progesterone, which generally relaxes things, right? We're like preparing the body for birth, but your lower esophageal sphincter also relaxes. And so then the acid from your stomach goes into your esophagus and it burns and it feels terrible. And I was so miserable that last month of pregnancy. Like, it's just, I don't think people understand the physiological changes that go along with pregnancy. Like you were saying, they just think like, oh, your feet get a little swollen and your belly grows. No, like your blood volume is increased, your airway is swollen, which leads us to a good point. As Nicole and I are anesthesiologists, we want to always throw an anesthesia pearl in there. The reason that we prefer pregnant women to have an epidural or a spinal for delivery, if they want, is because we do not want to put you to sleep for your C-section. Because the airway in pregnant women is swollen and there's a greater likelihood that we might not be able to secure the airway. Also, because of the gravid uterus, like the baby on the belly and the blood volume changes, the positioning is different. And oftentimes a C-section is not a controlled thing. It's like a stat C-section when the baby's not doing well. And so for all those reasons, we really prefer not to put someone to sleep for C-sections.
Yeah, we talked a little bit on our last anesthesia episode about epidurals and spinals and C-sections. And a few of our listeners sent us messages like, why can't I just go to sleep under general anesthesia for my C-section? And these changes, these swelling of your lips, your nose, your tonsils, the back of your oral pharynx, even though it may not be something that's visually obvious to you, when you are trying to intubate someone who's pregnant, there is a lot of edema, meaning swelling of those airway tissues. And like Tiffany mentioned, it makes it more challenging for us to be able to intubate. And in an emergency surgery, if you can't intubate, that can become a life-threatening emergency. So oftentimes we try to avoid putting anything in a swollen airway by doing a spinal and by doing an epidural.
The other thing I was going to mention is if it's important to you to hear your baby's first cry, like that's a thing that you want to etch into your memory. If you're asleep, you're not going to hear your baby's first cry. But if you have a spinal or an epidural, like the top half of you is okay. So, I mean, your brain is fine. You can hear, you can talk. And so you can hear your
chest and you can hold that.
Yes. And you can hear your baby's first cry, which for whatever reason was really important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this video went viral because while most women's changes are only visible in the belly and maybe swollen feet, this woman had visually obvious changes to her face so much that she looked like a completely different person. I think this thing got 100 million views within the first 3 days or something like that. Because I'm telling you guys,
so shocking.
It was so wild, shocking.
And don't worry, you guys, we're putting all the links to these videos in the show notes so that if you're driving right now and you're like, oh my God, I have to see this, you can stop when you're driving and click on the show notes and look at all these videos later.
If you're pregnant, guys, and you're worried because your lips are swollen or you feel like your nose is getting bigger, do not be alarmed. If you look back at photos when I was pregnant, I looked like my lips had, 3 vials of filler in them and they went back down to normal. So don't be alarmed. Don't forget, guys, you can also watch the full show on YouTube. We'll make sure to have the link below. That way you don't have to click on each of the viral videos separately. If you want to watch all of our episodes, you can find them on our YouTube channel, or you can listen anywhere where you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. And if you haven't already done so, please hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. It's really also a great way for us to grow the show and reach other amazing listeners like yourselves.
Our next video is a man who always wore pants when he was leaving the house to work, but always a short sleeve shirt, and is showing the difference between his legs, which are very white, and his arms, which have a lot of photo aging, aka sun damage. I don't know, this is like the poster child of why you should wear sunscreen.
I actually love that this has become a trend. I have seen so many dermatologists posting videos that are similar to this, where they'll show one side of someone's face because they're like a truck driver. So they're constantly getting sun on the left side of their face compared to the right side. Or they show people's arms that are exposed every day versus people's legs. So there's natural aging that occurs because we're getting older, but the vast majority of skin changes that we see as we age are not a result of just aging naturally. A lot of it is photo aging, damage caused by exposure to sun. UV is so damaging, it breaks down your collagen. It also causes DNA mutations, which increases your risk of cancer. And if this picture does not encourage you guys to use sunscreen, I don't know what will. Because this man's arms look like he's at least 80 years old. They're brown, there's sunspots, it's dry, it's wrinkly. I mean, it looks like my grandfather's skin. But then his legs look like this, like my chest, smooth and pale, and there's no wrinkles, no sunspots. I mean, the same person, but 40 years of difference between the sun-exposed area and the not sun-exposed area.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about anti-aging all the time, right? Like we're doing our Botox, we're doing our serums, our moisturizers, our eye creams, all that stuff. And I'm like, if you are not wearing sunscreen, you are negating all that other crap that you're doing because you're causing damage to your cells. So yes, do your sunscreen, do your Botox, but also always put on sunscreen.
And I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty, right? Like in the morning, do my skincare routine, I put on my sunscreen, and then I kind of go about my day. But the truth is that you should be reapplying sunscreen every 2 to 3 hours if you're going to be out in the sun. And I really only do it in the morning because then I go to work. And then if I have soccer in the afternoon, I don't always reapply my sunscreen before going to soccer practice. So all of that exposure, 1 hour here, but it's every single day for 40, 50 years, it catches up with you. And like I said, the UV is so damaging to your skin. It doesn't matter how many fancy serums you're putting. If you're not getting to the root cause of the damage, which is sun exposure, then you're kind of just like on a hamster wheel, really going nowhere.
Yeah, this is why I always have a big ass hat.
I
have a hat in my car. When I travel, I have a hat. I have an umbrella hat that people made fun of me on because we had to go fishing on Real Housewives of Dallas, which is like out in the open. And I was like, the hell? And you remember filming 3 hours and they think it's 15 minutes of show. And so I wore this huge ass umbrella hat that everyone made fun of me for, but I don't care because I have good skin.
You do. You have great skin. So some helpful tips, guys. Obviously, apply sunscreen every day, even when it's cloudy, because you still get UV exposure even when there's clouds in the sky. Remember to reapply often or as often as you can, especially if it's been a couple hours since you first applied. Avoid the peak time when the sun and the UV is at its highest. You can always check on any app the UV index if that's important to you, but usually it's between the hours of 10 and 2 p.m. That's usually when it tends to be at its highest. And don't forget the rest of your body. I think a lot of us are good about putting sunscreen on our face and wearing hats, but you can also buy sun protective garments. They have those rash guards that have SPF. So if you're gonna be out at one of your kids' sporting events for a tournament for 4 hours, throw on a shirt with SPF and avoid as much sun exposure as possible.
Okay, let's go on to the next video, which is actually from my friend, Dr. Zion. She is an internal medicine physician and her husband is a gastroenterologist. And after she had a C-section for her baby, her husband gave her a stick of gum to chew because that prevents post-operative ileus, constipation, all those things to get your bowels going again. What do you think about this hack, Nikki?
I wish somebody would have told me this hack because let me tell you, nobody talks about this. And I swear every time I have a girlfriend who's going to have a C-section, I tell her this. The constipation after your C-section is by far worse than the recovery from the C-section itself. I remember that bowel movement, the first one after a C-section. I have PTSD about it. I swear to God, I was sweating. It was like a freaking workout. And no one talks about this. This is something that, like, I think OBs need to be more proactive about it. They should put you on stool softeners before you even get to the hospital for your C-section. And if chewing gum would have made that bowel movement easier, they should put a stick of gum on every woman's, like, nightstand in the hospital.
Yeah, when they bring you like the post-operative care kits with all that stuff, like stick a pack of gum in there too, you guys.
It should be like, here's a pad and here's a piece of gum, because that constipation from the opioids, from being cut open, from the surgery, from the natural ileus, you know, obviously they move around your bowels during surgery and then they get kind of shocked and frozen and it takes time for them to pick up, plus the medications. You were backed up for a while and it was really uncomfortable the first time you go. So I haven't read the research on this, but the Post did say that it's backed by scientific evidence, and considering it's an internal med doctor and a gastroenterologist that posted it, I'm pretty sure they did their research. If chewing gum can help, guys, chew away, bubblicious it up.
Yes, the reason it helps is because it like stimulates your body to think that you're chewing and eating even though you're not eating anything, and it gets your bowels going. And they've actually done like randomized controlled trials where the gum chewing group had a faster time to their first bowel movement and a decreased hospital stay, like all from the gum group. And I was like, dang, I was like, do Wrigley Field do like extra want to sponsor me or something? Because, you know, I'll be packing out like in the postpartum unit, like passing out extra gum, Trident. I mean, whichever gum company wants to sponsor.
Hit us up if you're an owner of a gum company. I mean, well, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. But think about it. It's something so simple. You do get this like little postpartum kit after you deliver. You know, they give you like the little squeezy bottle to do the irrigation. They give you your pads. Can you just stick a pack of gum in there? Like, how cheap is that?
Oh my God, I remember that bottle. It's like this plastic bottle, and you like fill it with warm water and like squeeze it at your lady bits, because you know, it's just that was so not fun, you guys.
There are so many things that people don't talk about the delivery process, and that's what I love about our show, is that we keep it so real. We talk about all the things that nobody wants to talk about, like constipation after delivery.
And the opposite of constipation, sometimes when you're pushing the baby out and you're not having a C-section, you're having a normal vaginal birth, sometimes you poo, because you're just pushing, girlfriend. You pushing the baby, you're pushing the poo, the baby and poo both come out. Girl, I've seen it before, and if it's happened to you, don't be embarrassed. And the OBs and nurses, like, they've all seen it before, so nothing to be embarrassed about. But I did want to say, if you're having surgery and you were told not to eat or drink anything, also don't chew gum, because I've had surgical patients show up in the preoperative area and they were like, and I'm like, don't chew gum, because that also like gets your gastric juices going, and we want you to be like nothing by mouth. When we say nothing by mouth, that's what we mean. So I've had to like delay a little bit for that.
This was actually very helpful, and it was something I didn't know. See, these are some of the things that I absolutely love about social media. These like helpful tips, when they come from credible sources that have actually done their due diligence and done their research. This is something that's so easy but can help so many people, and I had never heard of this. So tell your friend thank you for this post.
Yes. Okay. Last video is a girl that gets lightheaded every time she stands up too fast. There's actually a medical term for this, which is orthostatic hypotension. Do you want to explain, Nikki?
I already told you. The girls that get it, get it. The girls that don't.
So this actually happens to me. It happens like if I've been laying down in bed watching TV or whatnot, and I get up quickly to like go get something or to get to the kids, you kind of get this like lightheaded, dizzy feeling where you almost feel like you're gonna black out or faint. And one of the reasons is that when you stand up, your blood kind of goes down to your feet. It goes down to the dependent areas, and you get a little bit lightheaded because all the blood kind of rushes down and you're not getting as much perfusion to the upper part, your brain and whatnot. It's called orthostatic hypotension, like Tiffany mentioned. And a lot of times, things that you can do to help if this is something that happens to you often is, one, get up slowly, give your body time to adjust and like your blood vessels to constrict and whatnot. So instead of just like jumping out of bed, sit up for a second and kind of move slow. If you're dehydrated and your volume is low, then you're gonna feel worse or more sensitive to changes in position. So making sure that you're hydrated, that you've drank enough water, maybe drink some electrolytes or salt tablets if this happens to you often. If you suffer from anemia, this can happen more often. So just making sure that your blood volume is full and that you're transitioning slowly from one position to the other. But this happens to me pretty often. I think because I'm not the best at drinking water and I exercise a lot, so I am probably chronically volume depleted.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely happened to me. Basically, you stand up fast, all the blood goes, gravity to the bottom and then not to your head. And you're like, whoa, I stood up too fast.
Like sometimes you have to grab the wall, like, whoa.
Yes, but it's like really dangerous because I had an old person and they stood up and they basically just like ate it and had to get stitches on their head and stuff. So especially for old people whose blood vessels may not be as springy as young people's, definitely have them sit on the edge of the bed and like hang their feet for a few minutes before they just go standing up. Okay, I think that's all our videos for today.
Well, I liked this episode, Tiff. It's a little bit different, but I think, social media has become such a big part of everyone's lives. I don't know, every time I'm somewhere, everyone's like scrolling on their phone, posting something. And I think it's just as wonderful as it is, it gives you access to tons of information. I think we also have to be mindful about what information we're taking in and we're using. Always make sure that it's coming from a credible source. Do your own research. If you have any questions, ask your own doctor before you try any of these trends, because remember, just because something went viral and has millions of views doesn't necessarily mean that it's scientifically valid.
Yeah, exactly. Throw caution to the wind when following medical advice from TikTok. Always check with your own physician and keep sending us these videos because we actually are learning a lot too, and they're highly entertaining.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Bye.